Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are tuning in from around the world. This is Things We Ignored on Giwolinga TV, a space where faith meets real life and truth brings healing. Today, we are tackling one of the most sensitive, most urgent, most misunderstood assignments in life that is parenting. Our topic for today is where parents get it wrong. Well, we are not trying to attack parents, but to awaken them. We are not trying to blame them, but also to realign the assignment. Because the goal is not just to raise children, the true goal is to shape a generation that knows God, knows identity, and carries out their purpose. We are seeing a pattern today where children raised by their parents begin to seek role models, validation, affection, mentorship, and identify outside the home instead of from the people that God assigned them first. The question is the question is not did the parent provide? The question is did the parent influence them? Because influence is not automatic. Influence is earned through relationship, consistency, vulnerability, and spiritual covering. Today, let's look at our scriptural anchor from the book of Proverbs 22, verse 6. It says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. You see, I want you to notice something in this. It didn't say feed the child or house the child or school the child. It says train. In other words, you have to train them intentionally, mold them intentionally, guide them intentionally, and be an example to them intentionally. In Ephesians 6, verse 4, it reminds us that fathers do not provoke your children to wrath, but bring them up in the training and admonition of the Lord, which means parenting that doesn't reflect God can irritate a child's spirit instead of nurturing it. So tonight we are going to look deeper and have a discussion on where parents are getting it wrong. With me here in the studio, I have with me our guest who is going to take us through this moment. It's not as a personal, but Reverend Rex Johnson. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here on Things We Ignore. And thank you for tuning in wherever you are watching from. I hope this time together will be very profitable for you.
Mm. Thank you so much, and I truly appreciate you for being part of the program today. And as I have just made mention, where parents get it wrong. So, do you what's the expectation of the viewers out there today concerning this
I,
particular
I
topic?
think, like you've already stated in the introduction,
Mm.
this is not to shame parents, but we have seen how people who were raised by their parents end up looking to outside influences for
Yeah.
direction, for mentorship. When some people attain a level of success in a particular area of discipline,
Mm.
they give credit to other people for mentoring them. And you wonder what happened to the parents. Well, the parents was part of their life. The parents was providing for them, putting them through school and all of that. But then we're going to look into it critically today and see
Yes, sir.
some of the things that we ignore even as parents. I'm going to tell you, almost 15 years ago, my life changed when I held my son in my hand for the first time.
Mm.
And that night, I couldn't sleep. It was a very powerful experience for me.
Yes, sir.
And I realized the weight of responsibility that had been placed in my hands to help nurture another human being
Mm.
from infancy to adulthood. And I realized that it is not just about providing what he will eat or where he will sleep,
Yeah.
but also to nurture him, to groom him, to mentor him, to train him.
Mm.
And that responsibility that dawned on me that night could not allow me to sleep the whole of the night. So it's a huge task that we have at hand when it comes to being parents and providing the right atmosphere and leadership and example for our children and covering and provision, of course, for our children. God is the first parent, and He's our example
Mm.
when it comes to parenting. And that is all, that also makes it more scary because
Yeah.
then you realize that you know the example you have in front of you as a parent is God Himself.
Yeah.
You know, and if you are a person that did not enjoy good parenting from your parents, how are you going to be a good parent to your child? These are also issues that are coming to play. But as we share today, God will help us to draw wisdom and to build up one another as to how we can do better
Mm.
in this responsibility, in this role that we have been given to help shape the next generation.
Thank you, sir. This is really a great moment wherein we need to remind parents um, that they are not just caretakers, they are God's first institution, of discipleship. Because a child doesn't, sometimes people just think that a child just need food, shelter, and education. That's all that matters to them. Other things doesn't matter. But in real life, the fact is, a child truly needs the affection, the attention, the affirmation, authority with love, a spiritual mirror that reflects identity, a voice that doesn't silence their soul. So, what parents often get wrong is believing that provision equals impact. And many parents raised children physically. Sometimes they there's that distance in emotion. Sometimes they don't contribute to their children emotionally, like know what is wrong with them, what's the affection, what is sometimes if even if something is affecting the child, they could not figure it out. They don't know because there's not that closeness, that uh, mother or daughter relationship or father or son relationship. It's not in between them. So that's one thing we have to also look at. And also one other thing we need to take note of. I came to understand that sometimes when you ask like grown men, most of all, yeah, like even children, like some like teenagers, also youth, when you ask them, who is your mentor? Like who's your role model? Who's your coach? Like who who are you following? You know, It might interest you to know that I, I can hear you, sir.
No, I'm following you. Yeah.
All right. So it might interest you to know that they can't even mention their parents. Of course,
Mhm.
they mention their parents, but they prefer, talked about other people who are influential in the society, other people who have made it in life, and some who are celebrities. These are the people they take as role model. These are the people they want to become. But your father who has brought you, who, or your parents who has brought you to this world and have taken care of you, fed you, educated you, you know, um, do so many things for you. So what is that has been missing in that aspect? That is what I really want us to talk about. Missing
So
piece.
I think we have to again go back to God, who is the first parent, the ultimate parent that we have, and He's the prime example. You see, Jesus, when He was teaching His disciples to pray, He said, "When you pray, pray in this manner. Say, Our Father who art in heaven."
Mm.
Our Father. He's a parent. He's a father. Okay, and in Matthew 5:45, Jesus makes it clear that God causes the rain to fall on the righteous and the unrighteous. Okay, so
Yes.
He provides that there are certain things that God provides for every one of His children,
Mm.
the just and the unjust, whether you're a good child or a bad child, righteous or unrighteous. The rain falls for everybody, and we know when the rain falls, it causes the crops to grow, and also that we will have food to eat, and those kinds of things. Provision. It's one of the functions of parents to provide for their children. And like you said, some parents would think, well, I provide what you need, so I'm being a good parent because I'm providing. It takes a lot to provide. Let's not belittle provision. It takes a lot of thought, a lot of care, hard work, and all of that to make sure your child's needs are met. Sacrifice is involved in all that. Let me also say that provision is the baseline. Provision is baseline.
Mm.
It's very important. It demands a lot from parents, but it is not all when it comes to the responsibility of the parent to the child. There are other things that go above and beyond providing for the needs of the child.
Yes, sir.
God, as a good parent, as an example of parenthood, causes the rain to fall on the righteous and the unrighteous, the just and the unjust.
Mm.
Let me draw your attention to Exodus 3 and verse 7. Exodus 3
3 and verse 7.
and verse 7. Then the Lord said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people who are in Egypt, and
Yes,
have
sir.
heard their cry because of their taskmasters. I know their sufferings. Verse 8, and I have come down to deliver them from the hand of the Egyptians and to bring them out of that land to a good and a broad land, a land flowing with milk and honey. So now
Mm.
you see some of the things that God is saying here. He said, I have seen the affliction of my people. I have heard their cry. I know their suffering. He, as a parent, God had seen what his children were going through. He has
Yes, sir.
heard their prayers, their cries unto him because of what they were going through. He knows exactly how they feel. And he has come down closeness to them. So it shows the kind of relationship a parent would have with his or her child or children to the point that you see what they're going through from their own eyes, not from your own eyes. You hear what they are saying to you, you understand how they are feeling. There is closeness, there is proximity between you and the child in the relationship. It's very important. Sometimes, when the relationship is not good, all that is happening is the parent is providing what the child should eat, where the child sleeps, or for their educational needs. But
mm,
then the child is not heard, the child is not seen, the child is not understood, and it becomes a problem. It leaves a void in the mind of the child. And then that child will begin to look outside
mm.
for those emotional needs, for somebody to see them, to hear them, to understand them. Sometimes they can find it in the wrong company. Sometimes they can find it among their age mates who might probably introduce them to things that they should never touch, never handle.
Yeah.
Why would they go to their age mates? Because they're seeking affirmation, they're seeking a support system, they're seeking for somebody to understand them, to hear them, to listen to them, to pay attention to them. Sometimes, as parents, we're so busy with life, we're so busy handling the responsibilities and the issues of life that we don't find time to sit and talk with our children, to understand what they're going through,
Mm.
to hear what they want to say. Or we think, oh, they're just children. I mean, what much are they going to say? Whenever we communicate, it's just the parents talking to the child and giving instructions. Do this, do this, do this. The child only says yes, yes, yes. End of story. That kind of a relationship is one sided and it leaves a lot of gaps, a lot of vacuums. And those gaps will be filled with something else, somebody else. Either their age mates, or the television, or the media, the screen, whatever screen, is it television screen, phone screen, iPad screen, computer screen, the days of social media and all that is happening online, somebody is going to fill that gap
Yeah.
and they're going to influence that child. And that child is going to find connection with the person that sees, that hears them, that understands them,
Mm.
that speaks to them, that gives them the opportunity to also express themselves. And if that somebody is coming with a negative influence, that child is going to be influenced negatively by default. And so you wonder why some children grow up and they look for mentors outside their homes.
Mm.
Because mentorship does not only involve giving instructions,
Yeah.
mentorship involves communication. Communication has to go with active listening on both ends, understanding, understanding what the mentee is going through, communicating with the mentee, listening for feedback, ensuring that the mentee understands the communication from you and that
Mm.
you also understand where the mentee is at and what are the challenges in the path of the mentee to execute what you're trying to get them to execute.
Mm.
And then you come alongside and provide that support system, not judging them or necessarily bringing them down, but helping them to move from where they are to where they should be going. So the person that if the person that plays that role in the life of the child is not a parent, then the child will not see the parent as their mentor. They will see the other person as their
Yeah.
mentor. So again, provision is great, it is necessary. It is important from the parents to the child. It's baseline. Over and above that, what is needed in this relationship between the parent and the child for the parent to effectively train the child and to be present in the life of the child and in the development of the child is presence, provision, and presence. That your presence is there, it is felt. You're not just there, so oh, you are home, but what is the impact of your presence? Are you hearing the child? Are you seeing the child and what the child is going through? Do you understand life from the angle of that child? Presence comes alongside and it plays a key role in all of this that we're talking about.
Hmm. Wow. Thank you so much, sir. Viewers, if you are watching us, wherever it is you're watching from, um, this is things we ignored. We want to know where parents get it wrong. You know, parenting must go beyond provision. And this is what we're looking at today. If you have any suggestion or any questions, please you can drop it in the comment so the man of God will be able to answer your questions. You see, the Bible says in Proverbs 17:22, it said, "A merry heart does good like a medicine, but a broken spirit dries the bones." And we've come to understand that many children today are emotionally starved, they are spiritually unheard, and also there's this mental pressure, and they have this silent searching. You see, so we need to know that when parenting becomes transactional instead of transformational, the the children look elsewhere for voices that heal instead of crush them. So I came to realize that parents lose influence when the home becomes, number one, it's a place of criticism without celebration. Let's say your child does something, and be instead of telling the child, "Oh wow, you did try," even if he did it or he or she did it in a wrong way. You understand? Before you criticizing that child, first of all, celebrate that little effort they made. Then you can be able to correct them in a good way. But like a child made a mistake, that moment you just see this is not the way to do it. You begin to shout on them, and I believe that's not a good way in parenting a child. Yeah. And also, when your rules, there are rules without relationship. Now you have a rule that you can put in it, like you say, okay, today nobody watches television, but yet still you don't have time for them. Like that father, um, daughter or son relationship, or that mother daughter or son relationship, you don't have it. But you have your rules. Go inside, don't go come out, don't watch television. And sometimes you correct them without no connection. For instance, they do wrong and you call them, "Why did you do this? Next time don't do it again." But there's no kind of connection with them. You don't like talk to them as a child. And also you discipline them, but you don't play a role in, like, you don't model them. You see, there's a difference between discipline a child and also modeling them. He didn't say, even the Bible says, spare the rod. So he didn't say you shouldn't discipline them. But at least in that moment of discipline, after you have disciplined them, you draw them back again and talk to them. This and this is not good for you. If you do this, that is how it's. So you tell them the advantage and disadvantage of what they are doing wrong, and it can have effect on them in the near future. And also, if you're trying to be religious to them, like showing them religion without a reality, let them see the father figure or the mother figure in you. That if you're a Christian, like let them see that Christian life in, like you living a Christ like. You can't tell your children to go to church, but yes, still you're not living the life of a parent. You can't tell them follow Christ and you're not living the life of Christ. And you they don't see that in you. And we have seen many homes, like many children out of. I talked to a guy some times ago, with a heartfelt, you can see the pain, the agony, the anger in his voice, that he didn't get the parental love that he needed. There was no concern about what he was even going through since he was a child. Even when he comes back from school, when he was being bullied by his friends or other people, he don't have anyone to talk to. When he come back home, just do the normal thing. He gets his food and take his bath, go to study and all that. So that parent and son relationship, it was not there. And so you could see that something was missing. So if there are certain things you see them doing today, it is as a result of where they're coming from. And the parent as the first teacher are the first teachers of the child. If you can teach them what they need to know, other people might teach them what they don't need to know or what they don't need, because what they want to tell them is what they will tell them. And of course, if you see them walking in that path, you have to understand that, okay, you have missed it. As a parent, you didn't do your work or you didn't do your homework properly. So it's very understanding, and it's very, sometimes we really need to get into that. So my question here is, um, why do you believe parenting today is losing its authority and influence in the lives of children? Eh, because
Right.
mm,
It's one of the factors could be
mm,
the kind of lifestyle we live nowadays. In
lifestyle.
this modern day lifestyle, a lot of time is spent in money finding activities. Let me use that term. Okay. So a
Okay.
lot of the time is dedicated towards going out there and working on the job, building a career, growing the business so that you can grow financially as an individual, as a person, or as a family. So you make more money. The
Yeah.
modern day lifestyle is centered around making money. Money has become the most important aspect of our lives. And to the point that some people do not have enough time for other aspects of their life, like family time.
Mm,
Family time suffers nowadays because of the pressure to deal with our needs, our bills, and the kind of lifestyle we want to live. We have to be able to afford it. So all the energy, all the focus, much of the time goes to that. It takes away quality time that we should be spending with our family. And added to that also is the things that we have nowadays at our disposal. Technology has made a lot of things accessible to us. It's beautiful, it's wonderful. There's a lot of good things that technology does in our lives. There's a lot of roles that we play effortlessly because of the use of technology. Okay. However, we have allowed technology so much time and influence in our lives and in our daily activities
mm,
that sometimes even when we sit around like family, everybody's on their device. Everybody is on their phones. There are some families who have a rule, a policy. When we sit down to eat, nobody should have their phone in their hand. Otherwise, you can be sitting down to eat and people are on their phones and replying to this message, checking, sometimes just scrolling. When you become too hooked on devices, it takes away the time to form connection, to form bonding between one another in the
Mm.
family. Um, Children as early as 2, 3 years old are having iPads, phones in their
Yeah.
hands. So the parent is busy, want to concentrate on something else, and just give the child the phone so that they will not disturb you, or the iPad, so that they will have something else to focus on. And then they become addicted, they become hooked on that, and they cannot put it away. You cannot even get them to put it away, and it becomes a challenge. So everything about the child, the whole world is in that device now. They have less and less time. They talk less to the parent. The parent talks less with them. There's less time to understand them, understand how they're feeling, what they're going through. They just want to lock up in their room or be by themselves with a headphone on their head and just focus on the device. The parent also is focused on the news or the something on the screen, whether on the phone or on TV or online. And so that takes away time that we should be spent communicating. So modern day lifestyle, daily habits, and technology is, and the more we give it those things priority, and we dedicate more time to those things, we have less time for family, for parents and children. And when you don't spend time, when you don't communicate well and adequately, then you will not be able to connect and to influence and to have that bonding with the child. So these things will take away from the effectiveness of our parenting responsibilities that we have to our children.
Yeah.
Some, you also mentioned something else. Some parents did not have it coming up, and it's very difficult to give what you do not have.
Mm.
If you didn't have it, how can you pass it on?
Yeah.
So it's so the few there are few who have been able to overcome that challenge, because it's a big challenge and it's not easy to overcome. That's why some people cannot overcome it. It's a very big challenge to overcome. When you didn't receive it as a child, now you're a parent, how are you going to pass it on to your child? Some people, it's not that they don't want to do it, they don't have the skills, they don't have the tank to draw from. So they need, first of all, to be healed emotionally. They need also to develop the skills and the techniques necessary. They didn't see anybody model it to them.
Mm.
Some of them, you will need to have other people in their lives that will play that father figure, that motherly role to them, so that they can feel that love, number one, and so that they can see how it is done, for them to be able now to do it to their own children. These are all different factors. So lifestyle, modern day lifestyle, career, ambitions, financial stress,
Mm.
um, the role that technology plays in our lives, the media, and also if you're coming from a background where you did not have a parent that was present in your life, You do not have a close relationship with your parents. All of these things affect parents to be in that capacity to properly raise their children and be present in their life and provide that covering for them. So much of the time, what the parent knows is to just give instructions and to control the outcome. I want you to do this, 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 and this. And I'm going to be on your back. I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure you comply with this instruction, to make sure you get this done. So you control this outcome, you control the behavior of the child. And you can get results for a period
mm,
using control mechanisms like that. But you know what is better? It's not to control to the child, but to be a covering to the child, where you can connect with the child. Where instead of giving the child instruction, make sure you do this, you first of all lead by example. The child sees you doing it. The child observes how you do it. The
mm,
child gets to understand through communication why you are doing it, why this thing is important. So it becomes easy for the child to do it. Most children, most of the time, they observe us and they want to be like their parents. So they see you cooking, they want to cook. They want to put their hand somewhere. They want to do something. They see you reading, they want to read. Even if they don't know how to read yet, they would emulate you. They would mimic you. They would
yeah,
imitate whatever they see you doing. They watch how you sit. They watch how you talk. They watch what you say, and they imitate all of it. How you walk, how you treat people, how you handle stress, how you handle financial issues, how you handle conflict. Children watch and they learn all of these things and they imitate you. And that is what they want to do because you are their role model. Whatever they see you do, they think this is okay to do.
mm,
And so they want to do what you're doing. So the best way to train the child is for you to be the example. Show them how it is done by doing it in front of their eyes. So they can see it and they can copy from you. It's better that way than just tell them, do this, don't do this. One of the questions children love to ask the moment they start talking is why. Don't do that. Why?
mm.
They want to know. Give me a reason. And and it's a good thing. We should not shut that down and say, don't ask me a question. Just do what I tell you. Sometimes it helps when the child understands why you're saying don't do this or do this. So next time they will do it by themselves because they know the value of doing it or not doing it.
Mm.
They understand the consequences of this or that. But if all they do is follow a set of rules, the moment they get to that stage in life where they can decide by themselves what to do and what not to do, they'll look at some things and say, I never understood why they told me not to do this. Let me do it anyway and see. And then
Mm.
they do it and think, oh, I like it. So I am going to do it. Now I have the power of choice. I will do it. Even though they used to tell me not to do it, but I never understand why they were telling me not to do it. And I saw them doing it, even though they were saying don't do it. And now I realize that I even like doing it. So
Yeah.
let me to go aside, just trash that instruction, and I'll choose what I want to do.
Oh, well, thank you so much, sir. And for those of us who are watching today, this is Geolinga TV. We are on Things We Ignored, and we are looking at where parents get it wrong. You see, parenting goes beyond provision. And that's the aspect because we have seen so many people who are, just healing from their parental trauma. And of course, they too are passing it on to their own children. Yeah, it goes on and on and on and on. And so we have to create this awareness for us to understand that we have a responsibility as a parent. If you have a child, you must make sure You are emotionally attached to them, not only by providing for them, but also there's something that it goes beyond provision. Yeah, it goes beyond that. It goes beyond bringing them on earth. It is a responsibility that God has placed in your hand, you know. And while you were talking, I just thought about, the kind of things that God does. You made mention of they should not be controlled, like, um, for instance, God asks us to make a choice to choose life between life and death. But at the same time, she said, okay, he still guided us. You should choose life. So this is the kind of way that God is fathering us. There's a song that was, I love the way you father me. The things you tell me to do, even when I go wrong, you don't just sideline me, but you tend to draw me close and correct me. And these are the things that we need. Before I go to the next question, there's a prophetess Miracle said, God is great. God is a great parent, a good example um, we should of whom we should emulate when it comes to parenting. That's why I love Joshua 1 verse 8. If if we parents actually read the word of God and apply it, we will be successful in parenting and our children will prosper. And also the Bible is complete. And you talk about parenting, and there's so much to talk about. But I really want us to focus on the children, because this is one thing. Because if you look at more especially people who are in ministry, they don't pay attention to their children. This is the work of God. I have to do it. So sometimes even on Sundays after church, they have to be in the church up till like God knows when they'll go back home. By the time they get home, their children are fast asleep. They have to prepare themselves to go to school in the morning and all those things. So you see, there's so much we need to talk about in concerning this area. But I've come to realize that there are some children who don't have the confidence to like confide in their parents. They'll prefer talk to other people outside, or even when like someone is living with them who's a different person among them, they prefer confiding in that person than their parents. So how can parents become the safe person their children confide in?
So most times as parents, we have this idea of perfection
Mm,
when dealing with our children, that everything should be perfect. They should always do it in the right way all the time. Otherwise, we get angry at them, we scold them. I think we should not teach our children to fail, but we should also have an open heart for them when they fail, when they do things we did not expect, when they disappoint us. You see, the father of the prodigal son is a good example here. He provided for his son, even though the son became a prodigal. Even when the son wanted to leave home, the son asked for provision. He gave the son. He said, give me the part of my inheritance that belongs to me now. The son was making an improper request because you can only have the inheritance after the parent is dead. But the son thought to himself, well, you are taking too long to die. And this thing is going to be mine anyway when you die. So why not give it to me now when you're alive? Because you don't seem like you're going to die soon. What did the father do? The father gave the son what he was asking for. The son went out of town, and we know from scripture that he wasted what he was given in the kind of lifestyle he was involved in. But the father never stopped looking out for his son. He was watching for the day his son will return home.
mm,
He was waiting anxiously for the child to come back. And the day he saw the child coming back, he ran to meet the son. He did not wait for the son to even come home and explain himself. He ran to meet the son halfway. That's the heart of a parent. The son has messed up. He's done a terrible thing. He's come out of the covering, from under the covering of the father. He's made an irresponsible demand, unreasonable request, and he has wasted what took the father years to work for. But yet, still, the father made it okay for him to come back. Um, that's a good parent. We should commend that parent in that story that Jesus was teaching us. Sometimes as parents, oh, if you mess up, you mess up. It
yeah.
was your decision. I gave you what you asked for, and you messed it up. Don't come to me again. I don't have any room for you anymore. I don't have any space, but I cannot, and I would not tolerate you anymore if you mess this up. When parents have that perfectionist mindset,
Mm,
they don't provide a safe space for the child. And so, if the child makes a mistake, the child will not be open and transparent enough with such a parent because of the perfectionist mindset that the child has seen in that parent. And so the child would rather go confide in somebody else that will be more understanding, somebody else that will want to hear the challenges and what the child has to say, other than just criticizing them for the wrongs that they did.
mm,
Am I saying we should not correct? No, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying we should have that open door policy for the child, that even when the child is wrong, he or she knows the best place for me to be is with my parents, and talk with them about this and tell them about what happened and take counsel from them about what to do next. Now, you were talking about people who are in religious service or people who are in ministry and how their relationship with their children are being affected because
yeah.
of the role they play. We have heard lots and lots about preachers' kids. There's a whole concept about that. They call them PKs. There are books about that. There are interviews about that, and how children of pastors end up missing the mark, end up going astray, even though they grew up in the home of a pastor, and the pastor was there influencing other people to live better lives, while his children were going wayward. People have been trying to study that. What happens in that situation? How can you be the child of a pastor? Other people are learning from your pastor, are being influenced by your pastor to come out from the wrong path to the right path. And you, as the child of the pastor, were on the right path, and then you ended up on the wrong path.
Mm,
While your father was there doing good for other people, or your mother was there doing good for other people. So this is a phenomenon that has been studied. Lots of people have written about it. There's a lot of information online about it. But I want to take your attention to the Bible to see we have an example for this in Second Timothy. Second Timothy chapter 2,
mhm.
Second Timothy chapter 1 and verse 5.
Chapter 1, verse 5.
Second Timothy 1 5.
When I call to remembrance the genuine faith that is in you, which dwelt first in your grandmother Lois and your mother Eunice, and I am persuaded is in you also.
So you see, Paul is saying to Timothy in this letter he was writing. Timothy was a young minister at this time, he was a young pastor, and Paul the apostle is saying, I remember that this sincere faith that you now carry, it first of all dwelt in your grandmother Lois,
mm,
and also in your mother Eunice or Eunice. Now it has been passed on to you. So this was a generational something from the
yeah,
grandparents to the parents to the child. And Timothy, as a young man, was already a leader. By the time he was receiving this letter from Paul, he was a leader in the church, even though he was a youth. And Paul could trace that this is as a result of his family upbringing. This
mm,
what we were seeing in the life of Timothy actually started with the grandmother Lois,
mm,
and the grandmother passed it on to the mother Eunice, and the mother passed it on to the son Timothy. So in that family, you can trace how the generations were effective and how they prepared the next generation
yeah.
for effectiveness, for stewardship, for leadership. This is a very powerful example here. Let's look at Second Timothy again, 3 this time, verse 14 and 15.
Verse 14 say, but you must continue in the things which you have learned and be assured of knowing from whom you have learned them, and that from childhood you have known the Holy Scriptures,
Mhm.
which are able to make you wise for salvation through faith which is in
So you see,
Christ.
he's saying to Timothy, as he was rounding up the letter, continue in what you have learned
Mm,
and you have firmly believed, knowing from whom you have learned it. From whom did Timothy learn? From his mother.
yeah.
The mother learns from the grandmother. You see? So this is traceable. This is something that has been proven through generations. And now he's telling to Timothy, hold fast to that, continue with that, don't let that go. I wish we were able to raise our families like this. That you
Mm,
will now pass something to your child. And those values, your child will pass those values and those virtues to their children. And then they can look at your family tree and say, ah, we know because what was in Abraham, he was able to pass to his child. And his child was also able to pass. It's a kind of leadership and a kind of structure that you provide in your family.
mm,
This is a perfect example. So while we are being Christian parents, godly parents, our influence should also be felt at home, not just out in the public. It should not be a case of people out in the public um, praising us for the good work we're doing and being impacted positively by the service we're rendering, whilst our families are being neglected. No, it should start from our family
yeah.
and then spring out. You see, by the time it got to, I don't know how many people UNIC impacted, I don't know how many people Lois impacted, but Timothy was now impacting the body of Christ.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So sometimes we need to take time to make sure we groom our children well. They're not just be in a hurry to be out there in the public for the public to see the good work we are doing, while at the same time we're neglecting our children. At the end of the day, it's going to count against us because the same public are going to look at and say, oh, wait a minute, how are your children doing? We see all this good work you're doing out here in the public, but what's happening at home? If if what you're doing in the public has not been done at home and the home is not modeling what you are showing to the public, then what is happening at home will undermine the good work you are doing or trying to do out in public. and you will not have the credibility that
Yeah.
you should have, because people can look at what is happening at your home and they're thinking, if you are so effective, why are your children like this? And I understand the part that, okay, the devil can attack, sometimes spiritual warfare can bring those consequences, but hey, we have to be mindful of it. And if it's spiritual warfare, we have to deal with the warfare and ensure that we have the victory through Christ Jesus over that spiritual warfare, so that our children will not testify negatively against us. So we should not be striving to look so good in the eyes of the public, while at the same time we're leaving our family needs unattended. No matter how much good we are trying to do.
Yeah. Exactly. I think. Thank you so much. In that aspect, that sometimes I see, because this is one of the most important thing for you as a leader or as a servant of God, as a man of God, as a pastor, as a leader in the church. People are looking up to you, and you should be an example. Like, they are. I've heard members or people say, like, this person cannot mentor me, or I can, like, in marriage. You understand? I can see this family as an example because of what you see going on there. And we have seen um, the love you're supposed to, your children are craving for. You choose to starve them and give it to other people. And in their presence, they are seeing it doing it for other people. But when it comes to them, they are being starved of it. You don't give it to them. And it has raised so many concerns today. Why um sometimes we might say, okay, it's the devil that is attacking the family these days. It is the hand of the devil. But we have this saying that pastor Pekin sometimes, it's a pastor's son or pastor's daughter. It's not living a life that, you know that equates the father's title that he or she is carrying. But we tend to judge them based on what they are doing, but we don't really know what they are going through in their family. And sometimes they don't get the love they deserve. They go outside and get it. And so they are easily carried away by that. It's happening. You see, this emotional disconnection in parenting affects children. It affects them seriously, and sometimes they cannot even be able to get that boldness in order to portray that. It is affecting them seriously, and so we need to look at those things and be bold enough to tell the parents. We are not trying to condemn them, we're not trying to shame them, but really look back and say, I watched a video where um, uh, Bishop Duncan Williams, made a confession about how he neglected, some certain parts of his responsibility as a parent, and something went wrong until he came to that point where he has to take up responsibility and try to amend that. You see, we most people tend to ignore that, looking at the fact that, okay, I'm doing the work of God. God will take care of my children, He will look after them. But God will not come down and bond you together without you contributing to that. You have to be affectionate, or you have to get closer to your children. If you are working from Monday to Friday, Saturday is enough for you to have time with your children. You understand? Take them to to where you want to go have a meeting with them, like a picnic, or just an outing. Take them to a place where you can play with them, have time with them. But even if you come in late from work, just make sure you have that 1 or 2 or 5 minutes. Get to know what they are going through, what is their problem, that. But we so much focus on spirituality and forget our responsibility as a parent, and that has caused so many things in our family. And also, one thing I want us to look at, man of God, I have seen, like, for instance, I have heard people say, I grew up seeing my mother or my father, you know, disrespecting my mother, or you know, like domestic violence, beating or whatsoever, or doing all sorts of things. And all there are also other people who may say, okay, I've seen my mother doing this, and so I, because of that hate or that grudge or that thing that that is inside of them, that's trauma. Like, for instance, yeah, I can say it is trauma. You understand? So, can generational trauma influence how a parent raises a child?
Yes,
If so, how can we break that cycle?
it does. It does influence. Generational trauma does influence. We said earlier that children are watching, are observing. They learn by observation. That's why the first place of learning for a child is the home, where they've been raised. Whatever they see
Mm,
from the age of 1, 2 years, or so, soon as they start walking, they start talking, they
mm,
imitate what they see you doing.
yeah,
Everything they see you do, they want to do. That's why they're very closely observing you, following you up and down everywhere you go, looking at what you're doing, because they're going to start doing exactly like you were doing it, talking
mm,
like you were talking, acting like you were acting, behaving like you. Now, the home is supposed to be a safe space, a place of love.
yeah,
When violence and negative things start happening, and if children start seeing moral failures of their parents, it affects them, because we were all born with this consciousness within to know right and wrong, to know love and fear, love and hate and violence. We understand that this is not right, this is right, even as a child. And even if the violence is not against the child, it's not on the child, it's on the, somebody else. When the child sees it, it leaves an impression in the mind of that child. It traumatizes the child.
mm,
And that child grows up with that trauma and would likely pass it on. That's what they have seen, that's what they know, even if they don't want to. But when they are under pressure, they will react in certain ways, because that's what is stored in the memory. How do we break that? If somebody who has experienced trauma as a child, somebody who has experienced abuse, any form of abuse as a child, whether directly or indirectly,
mm,
have to come to the place of awareness and accountability to understand that emotionally I am traumatized. Emotionally, I need healing. I have seen things, I have heard things, I have witnessed things, or things have been done to me that were not supposed to be done to me as a child. And I need to open up to somebody to help me deal with these emotions. Because if I continue to carry those emotions in me, it will not do me good.
Yeah.
It will cause me to malfunction. It will cause me to behave in a way that is not, sorry, proper or appropriate. So a time comes in the life of the individual when they have to seek help in the form of counseling, in the form of therapy. Talk to somebody about it.
Mm.
Above all, talk to God about it. There are lots of professional people around us who are trained in how to deal with that trauma healing, in counseling, psychosocial counseling, all those things. There are trained counselors and therapists around us that can help with that. But there are people in the professional world, there are people in the church, but there are pastors who are trained with those skills. Above all, talk to God about it. From time to time, these emotions they will show up and they will upset you from time to time. They would cause you to feel a certain way, they will cause you to behave a certain way to some people. Some people you see they are behaving in a way that is not right, is not proper. It's because of the trauma, the excess baggage that they are carrying from their childhood. Some anger you see some people display is misplaced aggression. You wonder what did this person do that you are reacting like this? This action does not warrant this kind of reaction from you. Your reaction is way greater, far greater than the original action.
Mm.
No, it's not about the action, it's about the aggression that was already locked up in the person, silently waiting for time. And the moment somebody pressed the wrong button, boom, you brought up all the trauma and unleashed on them. It is destructive. It can cause people to do things that they would regret. It can cause things people to do things that will cause them to be put behind bars for a long time. So you don't want to fall into that category. Talk to
Mm.
somebody, seek help, find help. There are people and there are services available in society for you.
Yeah.
Above all, talk to God about it. Because you saw your father doing something does not mean you should repeat during your own time to your wife. Because your father did it to his wife, to your mother. If it's wrong, it's wrong. If it was wrong, it is wrong, it was wrong. You don't say, "Oh, this is what my father did. This is what my grandfather did. So this is who we are. This is who I am in this family. This is how we." If it's wrong, it's wrong. If you do it, you're teaching your children to do it also, and then it keeps passing on in the family from generation to generation. And some of these things also can be stored in the DNA. That even some children who grew up without their parents being physically present, they begin to manifest some things. You
Yeah.
begin to wonder, oh, this was exactly what your father was doing, or the mother was doing, or the grandfather. But this child never saw the grandfather or never saw the father, but his behavior is exactly like. Why? Because that behavior was stored in the DNA, in the biological makeup that was passed into the child at conception. So you see, these are all the reasons why we need to be healed. So we don't pass those things to the unborn generation. Okay? And you never know how it's going to affect them as they continue to grow older. One generation was a womanizer.
Yeah.
By the time it goes to the next generation or the third generation down the line, oh, they are doing worse things. Oh, they have taken it to another level altogether. One generation was a drunkard. By the time it goes to the second or the third generation, my God. And so you see pain and destruction repeating. It becomes a cycle of pain, of destruction, of trauma, of dysfunction. People cannot function properly, no matter how gifted they are, no matter how skilled they are, no matter what potential they carry. Some of this excess baggage is destroying the future that they should have. It's destroying their destiny. So there has to come a generation that would say, this has to stop. We should put an end to this. How do you stop it? You seek help. You get help from people around you. You get help from God to be able to deal with it and lay it to rest. So you can now model something better, something more positive to your children. And so you can start in from a new page instead of letting the same negative cycle continue from generation to generation. It takes responsibility. Somebody has to take responsibility of it and say, no, I will not continue with this. And this is not normal. This is not right. Normal people do not behave this way. Somebody has to take responsibility for that. How do we change this? How do we write a different script in this family? A generation has to come. It starts with one person that will make a decision and will seek the help of God for that change to begin. They may not perfect the change, but at least they can start, and the next generation that will come after will pick up from where they stop. But guess what? If it's not checked, nobody does anything about it, man. You see, David had about four wives, minimum four wives.
Mm.
Let's look at a particular. David was the one that took the wife of Uriah. Remember
Yeah.
that took Bathsheba, right? It was recorded even in history,
Yes, sir.
right? We studied it when we were in our Bible study, right?
Yeah.
Now there is a scripture in the Bible about David that when David was old,
Mm.
and I think it's in First Kings chapter 2.
What?
I want,
First
I want
Kings
you to see that. First Kings chapter 2. I want us to see that scripture.
chapter 2,
Yeah.
First Kings 2, verse.
Mm, wait, I'm coming. There's a scripture there.
If you're watching live, this is Geolinga TV. Today is Things We Ignored. We're looking at where parents get it wrong. And one thing we need to understand, parenting must go beyond provision. So if you
First
ask
Kings chapter 1.
chapter 1, verse.
That's 1 to that's 1 downwards.
Now, King David was old, advanced in age, advanced in age, and they put covers on him, but he could not get warm. Verse 2, therefore his servant said to him, let a young woman, a virgin, be sought for our Lord the king, and let her stand before the king, and let her care for him, and let her lie in your bosom, that our Lord the king may be warm. So they
Hmm.
sought for a lovely young woman throughout all the territory of Israel, and found Abishag the Shunammite, and
Hmm.
brought her to the king. The young woman was very old, very lovely, and she cared for the king and served him, but the king did not know her.
And then what happened? The moment it did not happen, somebody else got up and said, "Ah, I'm gonna be king now."
Yeah. Then Adonijah,
Adonijah.
yeah,
Yeah.
the son of Haggit and
Adonijah, yeah. Now, what happened was that they saw no David.
hmm,
That when they saw he was old and stuff, they said, "Let us bring a young girl." They know if David, the kind of man he is, he
yeah,
will react, he will respond.
yeah,
The moment he did not respond, they say, "Ah, Adonijah said, I will be. Let me go and start organizing. This man is dead. He's gone. He's finished for him." That was the kind of man David is.
hmm,
When he was King David and he saw Uriah's wife, what did he do? He took the woman and arranged for the man to be killed. When he was old, they said, "Let us bring a." They know him. They know if he does not respond, then he's not going to get up from that bed. He's dead. He's finished for him. Now, how did that move on? When he came to Solomon, Solomon went to the extent he had 300 wives,
hmm.
700 assistants, 1,000 in total. Where did he learn that from? His father.
From the father.
You begin to see how things pass.
Hmm.
So this is the reason, like I was saying earlier, that we need to stop some of these things that are in our family line, in our generational line, and say
Hmm.
this thing will stop with me. I will not continue. I will not carry this over. Otherwise, it will mess things up for generations.
Yeah.
So the promiscuity that you see in Solomon did not start with him. It was running in that family line. It was. I mean, we can, if we sit down and begin to go down generation, we can begin to pick things about them. Abraham, for example, Abraham went somewhere and they asked him about his wife, and he lied. He said, "No, she's not my wife. She's my sister."
Hmm.
Isaac was not yet born when Abraham did that. Long after Abraham had died, Isaac was traveling. He went to a particular place and he was confronted with a similar issue. He also told the same lie that his father told, even though he was not yet born when that happened. He did the same. Why? It was passed, it was in the bloodline, it was in the DNA to behave like that. There are certain behaviors that we portray, it comes from our DNA. This is not to excuse us to say, "Oh, you don't have to take responsibility." No, but it is to show you that you have to take responsibility for it. Otherwise, it will become accentuated in the next generation to become even more amplified in the next generation. So
Yes.
somebody has to take responsibility for it before it gets out of hand.
All right. Thank you, sir. Before I go to the next thing, I have some few comments from Prophetess Sarah. From Prophetess Sarah. She said, "Yes, Pastor Abraham, men and women of God are the people who miss it more in parenting, focusing on the ministry and other things, but not involved in the lives of their children. And most time, by the time they realize, it is too late." And she said, Pastor Rex, love the parable of the prodigal son. It's actually talking about God and we, his children. It conveys valuable lessons about unconditional forgiveness, repentance, and God's boundless love for believers who have stayed from the path. The contrast between the younger son's repentance and the older son's resentment highlights the importance of compassion and forgiveness. The father's warm welcome of his wayward child illustrates God's love and mercy, which is always available. Thank you so much, woman of God, for that great contribution. And as we go further, for those who are watching, if you want to make any suggestion or ask any questions or any contribution, you can just drop it in the comments and we'll read it out for you. And so there's one question I want to ask. Um, the fact that we see children looking outside the home for mentorship. I have seen parents call other people to talk to their children because of the influence they have over them. Does that mean the parents have failed in that aspect? Like you have your
Yes
child,
and no.
you
Yes
cannot you
and no.
cannot influence his life. You cannot tell them what to do, but you prefer like talking to other people in order to convince them what they really need to do. Does that mean you as a parent you have failed in your responsibility to parent that child?
Yes and no. It can mean that in some circumstances, it can mean that the parent has failed. In some other circumstances, it can mean that the parent wants to give the child another perspective.
Mm,
It can mean that maybe familiarity is coming into play. Now
mm,
the child is so familiar with the parent that the child maybe does not value that particular counsel from the parent, or maybe the child does not trust the word of the parents for whatever reason. It could be because the parent failed, or it could not be because of that. So it's not like a one cap fits all the situations. Sometimes parents would need another voice, another figure to speak. I'll tell you a story about my child. Tell you about
mm,
my son, 15 years, right? He's getting to
mm.
15 now. Okay, so once he had this homework, and it was spelling. They were spelling words that have E and I in the middle. Some of the spellings can be confusing. Sometimes the E comes before the I, sometimes the I comes before the E.
Yeah.
Okay, but so he had to do a homework with those kinds of spelling. He had to fill in the blanks, E and I in between. The other letters are there. Sometimes he would get it right, sometimes he would not get it right. So I saw one mistake that he made. And I was telling him that for this particular spelling, in this particular sentence, this particular context, this letter should come before this letter. And he was looking at me like, I'm not sure. So I was like, yeah, you didn't get it right. He said to me, this is how my teacher spells it. So on that particular day, he chose to believe his teacher.
Yeah.
And I knew that, yeah, there are some words again that they sound the same, but the spelling are a little bit different. You understand? I think we were dealing with a kind of situation like that. I don't
Mm,
remember the exact word, but I remember the conversation. So I said to him, "You probably mistaken. I'm not sure this particular word will be spelled this particular way by your teacher. You probably mistaking this for another word for something." That kind of a conversation. And he said, "Okay, I'm going to write it like you say. But if I get it wrong, I'm
mm.
going to say you told me to write it this way, even though I told you this is not how I saw my teacher writing it, so spelling this word." So I thought, I said to him, I went to school too, and I went to a very good school.
Mm,
Guess what he said after a few minutes? I think he thought about what I said when I told him I went to school too. And I was taught in school, and I know how to spell this word you're trying to spell. He thought about what I said, and then he replied, "But I did not see you when you were going to school." And then it dawned on me that, yeah, of course, you wouldn't see me when I was going to school because you were not yet here You were not yet born when I was going to school. So one day I had to take them on the drive and go show them my school. This is the school I attended. You understand? But yeah, he was bold enough to tell me, I didn't see you when you were going to school. So how can I trust what you're saying? You understand? In this particular matter, my teacher is the authority.
That that was a good example
I
you
believe
gave
what
there.
my teacher says more, but I'm just going to write it because you said I should write it this way.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he went with the homework and I followed up. I said, how about that homework? So he said, oh, you were correct. You were correct. I said, did you understand? So sometimes in some subject matters, the child probably is not too sure that their parent is an authority in that matter.
Mm,
So they want to see somebody who is an authority in that matter to talk with them about that particular issue. So in some areas, in some things, the parent might not be the best person to have that conversation with that child. It does
mm,
not mean the child does not love the parent, does not respect the parent, or that the parent has failed. It just means that the child's brain has developed to a point where they question things. They don't just accept anything.
mm.
And you have to earn their trust.
Yeah.
You have to prove to them that I know what I'm saying. And you can depend on what I tell you. You will not go wrong if you listen to me in this matter. If you don't have that trust, it's not something to feel bad about or feel like you have failed. It's something that you can guide the child to somebody who's an authority in that department, who will be able to have that conversation with the child and lead the child to the right path. And as well, also reinforce that authority person can now reinforce the role of the parents in the minds of the child again. And then the child will come out of that experience trusting the parents even the more.
Mm,
Sometimes, if as a parent you don't know something and the child, you should be humble enough to let the child know, I don't know, but I will find out. I will get the answer to you, or I will connect you with someone or somewhere where you can get the answer to this question. Be honest, be transparent enough. Don't fake it. The child will respect you the more, will
mm.
trust you the more.
Wow. Thank you so much. That was a great contribution there. And I think I've really tried to I've really tried to digest all you have said, and it's of importance because most of us did not experience parental love because I never experienced that. But there's one thing I have told myself: I'll give it to my children. Yeah, I'll give it to them. The attention,
That's the spirit. That's the right spirit.
the love they need. I never experienced that from my dad. Not even my mom. They were just telling me what to do. They are there to feed me, to clothe me, and educate me. That was their responsibility. And after that, beyond that, you're on your own. You can get it. So it's something I grew up to understand. Basically, I struggled with it for some time, but I came to a point and realized that if I can get it, then I have to give it up. And
But first, you have to learn about it.
yes, I had to learn about it. I attended so many seminars in terms of marriage and relationship and all those things. So I had vast knowledge on that and the importance of in terms of ministry work and how would you manage your ministry as well as your family. And one thing I came to understand that your family is your first ministry that God gave to you. And if you cannot be able to lead your family, you won't be able to lead a ministry. And that's one thing we missed it there, because we tend to pay much attention to the vision that God has given unto us of the ministry that we've created, where we put it as a priority over our own family. And we have seen so many struggles today, so many things happening that you some cannot say it out because of what. Okay, this is all right. Um, because of what? Because of you don't want to. Because of the church or the body of Christ or this or that. But this is one thing that is um, um, gradually affecting most of us. So we need to look into that. And there are children who are suffering because of this in their own home. They don't get that affection they need. They don't get that love they need. So they prefer go outside and get it. So second to last question I would love to ask. Um, what are the dangers of, like, children finding mentorship outside God's plan or for them, or God's design? Because if their parents cannot give it to them, like we have seen where children who are coming from a Christian family, born again Pentecostal, they are baptized. Of course, even some of them are pastor children, but they prefer they have mentors who are in the world, in the secular aspect, like in sense, like you can see um, secular musicians. I love this. I love this person. This person is my mentor and all that. So, what are the dangers of children finding mentorship outside God's design?
So, one would be the danger of contamination.
Hmm.
So, every mentor has their own mindset, their own perspective, their own view of the world, or they call it worldview. So, when a child looks for mentorship from some place, some individual, some influencer, they are going to bring in the worldview, the mindset as well of that person.
Hmm.
So whatever view that person holds is going to pass on to that child, is going to shape that child for the future.
Hmm.
So that is one danger. So the child can be contaminated by or polluted by wrong ideologies, wrong philosophies, wrong mindsets. You understand? There
Hmm.
could be something good in that person, where in the place where the child is seeking mentorship, but then also there could be also other things that are not so good, and all of that will be passed on to the child, the good, the bad, the ugly. So that's why the home, the parents, they should have been the covering for that child, and they should be the ones that the child would compare everybody else with, and use their own values to filter everything else. That when somebody wants to tell the child to do something or not, they will say, mm-mm. Oh, try this drug. This is a drug will make you high, will make the child, will make you wise, will make you relax, forget your problems. No, my dad never takes drugs. My mom never does drugs. They never introduced me to drugs. They already told me this is bad. This will destroy your destiny. So the child filters the outside influence based on what they have learned at home. So, but if the child prefers to seek, it opens up that child for contamination. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, the person outside the home, let's call that person stranger, for example. Could be a good stranger or a bad stranger, but let's just say stranger. Now, the stranger's voice is something, it comes, even though it will maybe support the child, give validation to the child, give identity to the child, form a form of expression for the child, but it is a temporary validation. The lasting one comes from the home. The love that they would show, the support that they would show to that child, most of the time is temporary. Okay, so it is not permanent. Most of the time, there is no covenant relationship there. It can be a short term relationship, it can be a transactional relationship, but it's not a long term relationship.
Mm-mm.
So the child is expected to get that long term relationship and support from the parents. If that is absent, then the child will be having series of short term mentorship relationship with different people. Short time here, short time here, short time there, little here, little there, little there, always seeking out something,
Mm.
and that might not be healthy or wholesome for the child. Okay. Now, the child by or the teenager by themselves, they lack the maturity to discern. Okay.
Yeah.
They lack the maturity to filter and to discern true character from an external mentor. What is driving them is the excitement or the affirmation or the newness of this idea. But whether that idea has stood the test of time or not, they don't know. They don't have that maturity.
Mm.
Whether there is a fault in that idea that will affect them later on in life, they don't know. They don't have that maturity to discern.
Mm.
So it because of that immaturity, they are vulnerable. They can be deceived, they can be manipulated. You see,
Mm.
deception does not have to mean a lie. Deception is not 100% lie.
Yeah.
Deception is a lie with a little bit of truth. They take some truth and then wrap it in deception. But the first thing you see is the truth. The truth that you see there is a bait to hook you.
Mm.
Manipulators, when they're using deception, they use the truth as a bait to hook you and draw you in before they swallow you up with the lies.
Mm.
A child, a teenager does not have the maturity to know that this is deception. The truth you are seeing is just a bait.
Yeah.
What you are not seeing is the lie that is behind it. And you will not see it until it's too late.
Mm.
A parent would have that discernment, would have that maturity. So that is why, again, the parent should be there to help the child to filter, to discern. The parent should have done a good foundation with the child. So by the time the child is exposed to external mentors, the child has the lens to filter things through. And also the child can also come back to the parents when they are confused or when they are in doubt
Mm.
to ask questions, to seek clarification, and to receive support, even when they are going with a mentor. But the parent is there to help them with that necessary support and clarification. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So these are some of the dangers really with children seeking validation outside
All
from
right.
the home.
Thank you, sir. I think there are many, 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 many things to talk about, but because of time, we're gonna cut it short. So my last question, and if you could speak directly to every parent listening to you right now, what would you tell them as the final question?
I would say be present in the life of your child. Okay?
Mm.
Provision is good. It's key to our relationship with our children, and we will have to provide. But as we're providing what the child needs for life, let us also provide our presence.
Mm.
Let us be present in their lives. Let us give them the the gift of our presence. Sit with them, talk with them, understand them, have time for them. Time that you will shut down everything else and focus on them and just bond with them. Let there be that open relationship, that warm relationship, that love relationship built on trust and good example and the principles of God's word. Be a good example. Don't just tell them to do some things that you never do, but let them see you do it. It's easy for them follow by to follow your example when they see you do certain things. Okay, so let us also provide mentorship for our children. Let us be the primary mentors. We cannot live in a world where we would say, oh, our child should not have any other mentor except us. But we can be the primary mentors that will set the foundation and will create the baseline. So that every other mentor that will come, the child would now have to filter what they're saying based on whatever example we have laid, whatever foundation we have laid. Let us not leave a vacuum in the lives of our children
Mm-hmm.
where they will now be running around, going around, seeking for mentorship, seeking for validation, seeking for identity from other people outside the home. Because if we leave a vacuum in our relationship with the children, with our children, the world will fill that vacuum by
Yeah.
default. There will not be a vacuum actually, because whatever vacuum we leave, the world will fill it.
Mm.
And the world is not going to fill it in a manner that will be favorable to us 100%.
Yeah.
The world will fill it with what they have designed and what they have prepared to serve everybody. Might not be good for your child, might not be good for the destiny of your child. But hey, because you were not present or you did not provide the necessary mentorship, then guess what? The child is going to be led astray. We don't want that to happen. So let us be present and let us mentor our children to the point that when even they are going to now receive mentorship, influence, or whatever from outside, from people outside the home, they would be careful enough to make sure that they are in line with what foundation we have already laid, which is the foundation of love and of godly principles. And they will continue in that direction. God help us.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Really appreciate and think the just what you just said. I think let me reoccur it to others out there. If you didn't get it clear, you should be always be present in your children's lives, no matter what. Be there for them, and also be the primary mentor. No matter what they get outside, they must first of all come to seek your consent. They say, somebody told me this. How do you see it? I want to have your own.
Or they must judge it by what you have already taught them.
Oh yeah, they must, yeah. But you have already taught them. So that's one of the most important thing. And one important thing you made mention is like there's not going to be there's no vacuum that's going to leave, because if we don't fill that vacuum, the world will fill it. And when they fill it, it's not going to be favorable. So the parents, yeah, because what you needed to give them, if you can't give them the world, or the world will give them. And of course, it's not what you would like to see. And that's one thing we need to understand. And I truly appreciate your presence here tonight, man of God. Thank you for joining us, and it's been a wonderful ride, and I truly appreciate. And thank you for those who have been with us from the beginning of this program until the end today. Thank you, Prophetess Miracle Sarah, for your contributions, and I truly, truly appreciate. And I think the first person that comments from YouTube, he said you don't have any likes. Anyway, I like yours. So don't be sad, okay? All right, thank you. I won't be sad. This is the God's work we are doing. And I believe as time goes on, those who love to watch it, and I just pray if you are here and you have watched this video and you've been blessed, do me a favor. Just share it with someone you love, to for them to listen or to watch this video, because it's very important. It's very, very much important for as a parent or those who are already trying to become parent. It is important for them to know what they need to do. For most of us who have been looking outside, or even as that, who are looking outside for outside their home for mentorship, even as that. But there's one thing I can always look up to for my parents. There's something they instill in me. You see, that form of obedience and that love. Like for instance, the way they groom me up makes me feel that okay, think that's the best thing that they ever give to me that I truly appreciate about. Yeah, even to the point I am today, being the sense of humility they give to me. My father is such a humble person, and you can never hear him say any word that will either curse or do any kind of thing. And I learned a lot from him, even from my mother. And so, even there are certain accept, even though there are certain aspects I didn't like, but the majority of what I carry in the inside of me, if you see me today being humble, cool in talking, it is as a result of what I learned from my parents and how well they trained me to be who I am today, being humble and doing what I have to do. So it's very important. So, man of God, I this is things we ignore, and we love to share our experiences with people so that they can learn also from us. So, one final question, please pardon me. I want to know one thing. Maybe someone will want to. Okay, Mom Esther just said we should pay attention to our children, no matter how busy we are. Yet, it is very important. We need to pay attention to them, and we need to show them that attention. It is very, very vital because there are certain things they might want to share with us, but because we don't pay attention to them, they will just do whatever they want. And so, man of God, you have to share your experience with us. What is it that you, as a parent, you have done that, you know, at the end of the day, maybe you thought it was the right thing, but at the end of the day, you ended up, okay, I say, had I known, I wouldn't have done this, you know. And but how did you manage to overcome it, or how did you manage to do it the right way in order for you to be a good father to your children?
Okay, so go back to my son.
Mm,
Um, I had a discussion with my wife about him
mhm,
where sometime he was approaching the point where he had to take the public exam
mm,
in primary school to go to senior to go to secondary school, junior
mhm,
secondary school. And we thought, why not he take the exam 1 year earlier? We thought he should take the exam 1 year earlier. I took the exam 2 years earlier, and I
mhm,
passed the very first time I took it, and I went straight into junior secondary school. So I skipped 2 classes in
mhm,
primary school. So I thought, we thought, yeah, let's give him the opportunity to take the exam, and so we prepared him for it, extra classes and all, and he went to take the exam, and he didn't pass the exam,
mhm,
and he felt like he failed. Oh, of course, he didn't pass the exam, but that sense of failure weighed heavily on him. it was very heavy on him. He didn't want to fail. He had great expectations. He prepared, he studied. Then he went and didn't make it. And he felt so bad about himself because he didn't pass the exam. And then he started learning from other people that he was interacting with within the school environment that, oh, you should never try to do the exam before time. You should always, you know, go through the full um, how many years, 6 years and all of that before you take the exam. You shouldn't take the exam. And so he thought it was wrong. So number one, he felt like a failure. Number two, he did the wrong thing by taking the exam. And it took a while for me to know that that was on his mind. And he was questioning, why did my parents push me to do this? Now I went and did it. I gave it my best shot and I failed. I didn't pass. And now I'm learning that it was even wrong for me to have attempted it. And I got to know that that was what he was feeling. It took a while for him to open up, but then he did open up and ask the question, why? And so I had to sit with him and I had to talk with him and I had to give him reasons why we did it. Okay. And we had to give him the reasons. We wanted you to try that exam because we felt like you had what it takes to have passed it in first instance. Um, we thought that your brain was developing so fast, and so yeah, you could have saved that 1 year and gone ahead in your education, and all, we had to give him the reasons, logical reasons, sensible reasons to make it make sense to him.
Yeah.
And also, we had to deal with also the sense of the feeling of shame for failing the exam. That I failed the exam and I'm so ashamed of myself and I felt like, oh, I could have done better. I let myself down and all my preparation. And then also the thing that, oh, I wasted time, all the preparation. I was doing this schoolwork, I was doing this extra classes. I was deprived of this other time to play and to relax because we had to walk through those emotions with him and help him to come out of that. And that was my communication.
Mm.
And I was not um, proud enough to say to apologize. I had to say, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, that you felt we pressured you for pressuring you to do this. I'm sorry. We're sorry. Okay, we did, and in life we develop when we're faced with pressure
Yeah.
and all of that. But this time, we could have allowed the natural cause, but we decided to bring it 1 year early. We waited for the other year. He went and he passed it. It was smooth. It was easy for him, right? That was the right time for him to take the exam. But we wanted him to take it 1 year early, and all the pressure that we put him through, and all the we had to work with him. We had to apologize where it was needed, and we had to help him get out of that feeling of shame and failure.
Wow.
Yes,
That
and
was.
and and that also helped to heal him emotionally because he was angry. He was carrying that anger in his mind
Mm.
and that feeling of shame in his mind. He was angry at us for pressuring him. He was ashamed of himself for failing the exam, and he was feeling guilty that he did a wrong thing.
Mm.
So all of that was building up on the inside of him, and we had to nick it in time before it could boil over to something else.
Thank you so much, sir, for this. It's really timely, and of course, the fact that he came out to you know
To ask why.
ask why, that was a sign of a good parenting because they have the liberty to ask questions and know exactly how they feel. It's very important, and the fact that you were there, you agreed, and you were honest enough to tell him what was the reason because if it was some other people, they would say it is for your own good. Why are you
Why do
asking?
you
So
question?
they won't explain to him for him to understand. They will just pounce on him and this that. Like, you have already failed. You see, you have made me waste my money. That this that. So those are the things, and why you don't even consider the child's feeling. So it's very important. I really appreciate you so much. So thank you for tonight, and everyone who has been here. Thank you for being part with us. This is Geolinga TV, and today we are doing things we ignored, and these are the things we need to look at. Very important. But yeah, we'll see you next time. Please join us again on Thursday for Bible study with Pastor Rex. And of course, we're going to continue where we stopped the last time. God bless you as you join us, and see you some other time. Have a great night. Bye.
Amen. God bless you.